What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Beyond Hero. And today, we're breaking down the Season 3 finale of Invincible. This episode's title is, I Thought You'd Never Shut Up. And let me tell you, between the animation details, Conquest's whole deal, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan going up against Steven Yeun again. Yeah, this one brought back some Walking Dead trauma. Let's get right into it. Quick shout out before we jump in. Before Conquest even shows up, the title card itself is telling on him. It shifts from black to a fluorescent green that echoes angstrom, then to red and light blue, before finally landing on light gray and white Conquest's colors. And yeah, worth pointing out again, Conquest is voiced by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, the same guy who played Negan on The Walking Dead, the dude who bashed Glenn's head in with a barbed wire bat. So if you dipped out of that show after that scene like a lot of us did, brace yourself. The episode drops right back into the fight from last episode. Mark and Conquest flying at each other fists first, and the impact alone blows out windows and knocks bystanders off their feet for blocks. Every time Mark throws down with a Viltrumite, it is craters in the ground. That is just the standard now. Conquest tells Mark straight up that unlike Anissa, he is not here to sell him on Viltrumite utopia. He wants Mark dead, full stop. If Anissa was the good cop, Conquest is the bad cop who skipped the interrogation and went straight to violence. Compared to his fights with Omni-Man and Anissa, Mark's actually holding his own way better here. And if these finales have taught us anything, it is that Season 4 is probably bringing even more Viltrumites to Earth's doorstep. Conquest gets an unhinged line here that Jeffrey Dean Morgan is clearly having a blast delivering. Something about how he is not here to spread the Empire's greatness. He is here because he genuinely enjoys the feeling of his fists soaked in blood. This dude isn't playing games. He is just here to fight for the pure sick pleasure of it. Say what you want about Conquest. Dude's a monster. But the writing on this character goes hard. Mark takes the fight into orbit. Conquest blows an actual blood bubble into a heart shape and freezes it just to shatter it in front of him. Like, what is happening? Mark's landing good hits, but Conquest still cocky enough to send him right back down to earth with one punch. Back home, Oliver's trying to jump into the fight, and the fact that Debbie's even letting him go shows how scared she actually is. Paul tries comforting her, saying, Mark and Oliver have handled worse. She shuts that down immediately, because this dude's straight up stronger than Omni-Man ever was. Little animation detail. The Korean wedding ducks are back in frame. Still not facing each other, still telling on Mark and Eve's relationship without saying a word. Ash from the burning city is falling like snow. Mark's blood is doing that Jurassic Park ripple thing in a puddle. Conquest is just that much of a problem. Oliver shows up right before an entire block of buildings collapses, and Mark gets launched clean through a building into a burning tanker truck. Someone stop this fight. Seriously. Conquest is actively encouraging Mark to keep going because he is enjoying himself that much. And low-key, I get it. I love the chaos too. Oliver rolls in talking trash and immediately gets yanked upside down for his trouble, which just makes Conquest even more amped. Mark's gassing himself out throwing haymakers and Conquest's barely bleeding. There is a running thing where Conquest keeps clocking that Mark and Eve have zero endurance training. Makes sense. Mark's been trained in strength, speed, and combat, but never pacing himself, cause he has never had to. Viltrumites train against other Viltrumites their whole lives. Mark's basically been trained by one guy in a government building. That is part of why Conquest's actually enjoying this fight. Mark's sloppy, unpredictable, full of surprises. He is new. Compared to a perfect, disciplined Viltrumite soldier, that is genuinely refreshing to Conquest. Cut to the Pentagon, where Sinclair's working on turning fallen Invincible variants into weaponized Reanimen. Struggling because Viltrumite tissue is just built different, way denser than anything he has dealt with. Eve finally wakes up in the hospital to the sound of her parents arguing, and immediately worries about Mark. She has been out almost a week. In her panic, she accidentally outs Mark as invincible to her own parents. Can't walk yet, but she is already trying to get back in the fight. Back in the brawl, Conquest casually mentions he knows Nolan, and tells Mark his dad's already been executed. And honestly, Conquest probably believes that since he knows the order went out, he just hasn't gotten word that it failed. Remember, there is less than 50 full-blooded Viltrumites left total. Oliver jumps back in with that classic Viltrumite stomp move. But Conquest backhands him so hard he loses 10 baby teeth. Which, fair, since technically all of Oliver's teeth are baby teeth at this point, since he just regrows them. Then Conquest starts pulling Oliver like taffy. And in the most disturbing detail in the whole episode, what is dripping on Conquest's face isn't blood, it is his own tears. Cecil teleports in to save Oliver right as Conquest just casually punching Mark through building after building. He plows Mark straight through a group of tourists, decapitates one woman, kills a guy walking his dog, takes a kid's arm off running past. It is basically a rerun of Omni-Man, pushing Mark through that train back in season 1, except worse. Mark finally breaks free and lands a hit right as Eve shows up with a shield. Conquest breaks straight through it and snaps Mark's leg clean in half, bones sticking out and everything. Not fun to watch, not gonna lie. Eve busts out of her own shattered shield and builds herself an Iron Man-style construct suit. Same trick she used back in episode 5 against Machine Head's dragons, and clearly something she has been quietly practicing. Mark resets his own leg mid-fight, which, no thank you, and gets right back in. Eve actually holds her own solo for a stretch, thickening the air, making a mace, walls, a harpoon. Conquest just shrugs it all off, starts tearing her armor apart piece by piece, cracks her jaw, and then, straight out of the comics, stabs clean through her stomach. She falls from the sky with her insides hanging out, dying in real time. Mark screaming for Cecil, someone he has been furious at all season, and it is genuinely one of the most gutting scenes in the show. Total Glenn and Maggie energy from The Walking Dead, and then Conquest licks Eve's blood off his own wrist like an animal, just to twist the knife further. Conquest admits he was ordered to take Earth by any means necessary, and tells Mark he did something specific to piss the Viltrumites off. We'll circle back to that, because the comics answer exactly why. Mark drops the ice-cold line that he can see the future, and Conquest doesn't live to see tomorrow. Their fists connect mid-punch, hard enough to shatter both of their arms, and Mark, broken leg, broken hand and all, bites straight into Conquest's shoulder like a wild animal. That is when Eve starts glowing, waking up something dormant inside her, kind of like a secondary mutation kicking in. Mark just starts pounding Conquest into the ground over and over, the same way Omni-Man did to him back in season 1. And there is something almost tragic about Conquest here, taking all the Empire's dirty work and getting more isolated from his own people for it. He confesses to Mark mid-beatdown that every other Viltrumite is scared of him. Nobody talks to him. Nobody wants to be his friend. They think he is unstable, and it tracks. Every other Viltrumite we've seen looks flawless, but Conquest's face is scarred up. His teeth are mangled. He is the most brutal one of them all, and he even resents that they gave him a title instead of a real name. He tells Mark to take that secret to his grave, assuming Mark's about to die. Eve comes back. Turns out this is basically her kill switch, a Hail Mary ability we'll learn more about. And this fight cements her as maybe the strongest hero on the planet at this point. Full stop. Mark lands one more hit with his non-broken hand until Conquest catches it and breaks that one too. So Mark just starts headbutting him instead, over and over, until Conquest's face is straight up pulp. This is a direct homage to Negan beating Glenn to death. Same brutal sound design, no music, just the horrific noise of it. Robert Kirkman wrote both shows, so this feels very intentional, and Stephen Yeun probably asked for a little payback built in. Backup finally rolls in. Cecil, Robot, Donald, Black Samson, Bulletproof, Monster Girl, Shrinking Ray, Shapesmith, Kid Thor, and more. Cut to the hospital. Mark wakes up 3 days later, and Eve explains her powers were locked behind a mental block from birth that only breaks under extreme trauma, something that happened once before, tied to finding out the government was keeping her birth mother alive as a living superhero factory. Debbie blames herself for everything, the same way Mark always does, even though there was nothing she could have actually done differently. Then we get Rex's funeral, held on secure government land so nobody can dig up his cybernetic remains. Ray watches from a distance, crying alone, unable to join the group. Her and Rex almost got their happy ending. Rudy delivers the eulogy through an empty robot suit and drops the bomb that he is officially changing his name to Rex to honor him, which personally still feels deeply weird. Eve tries to speak and breaks down before she can finish. Later, she and Mark admit that even though Rex started the show as a total jerk, he genuinely grew into a good person. That night, Eve and Mark sneak back into his room, and when she uses her powers to undress him, his suit starts glowing pink and melting into a puddle. A hint her powers changed after her rebirth, and something we're clearly going to be dealing with next season. Then, the finale drops its usual pile of teases. The Sequids are quietly building an army underground. Battle Beast is frozen and hibernating in deep space. The technicians have rebuilt Angstrom Levy. And Cecil secretly kept Conquest's body instead of destroying it like Mark told him to, which Mark is going to be furious about the second he finds out. Mark tells Oliver flat out that next time anyone threatens his family, he won't hesitate to kill them, which is a massive shift from everything they've tried to teach Oliver all series. And in the mid-credits scene, Damien Darkblood is back, summoning a demon lord and promising him access to a surface dweller with unprecedented power. Could be talking about literally anyone at this point. Mark, Conquest, Oliver, even Eve. That is the finale. Drop your theories in the comments. Let me know if you actually thought Eve was dead, 'cause I did. And I'll catch you guys in the next breakdown here on Beyond Hero.